You only come here on weekends, so when the place is empty, you should be making better use of the land. Madison, my eldest sister, said it casually as she gently swirled the mimosa glass in her hand. Beside her, my second sister Brianna and my third sister Haley flicked their fingers across their smartphone screens, letting out crude, snickering laughter. I doubted my own ears. I could not believe that the scene unfolding before me was real. This was Pacific Palisades, California. It was about a precious vacation home of mine, built on a hill overlooking the ocean. My personal sanctuary, obtained only after years of building my career as a senior architect and enduring blood-soaked levels of effort. On weekdays, I survived minute-by-minute schedules amid the chaos of Los Angeles, and only on weekends did I come here to soothe my mind, listening to the quiet sound of the waves in a house I had designed myself. That was my one and only luxury, and the very thing that sustained my life. But now, what filled my field of vision was not serenity. From the private driveway to the front yard, rows of luxury SUVs and sports cars were lined up in an orderly yet disturbingly dense formation. A rough count alone showed at least 30 vehicles. Worse still, at the entrance stood a garish neon-colored sign I had never seen before. The Palisades Azure Mall exclusive temporary parking, $50 per day. When I looked closer, the sign had even been thoughtfully supplemented with notes such as, reservation required, and no cash, app payment only. I felt my fingertips tremble with intense anger. What awaited me, after finishing work late on Friday night and driving out early Saturday morning to enjoy a peaceful weekend, was an unauthorized private parking lot being operated by my sisters. Explain this to me, please. What exactly is going on here? I got out of the car and walked toward an outdoor folding table set up near the front door. There, Madison and the others were seated as if they were enjoying a vacation, with the latest tablet devices placed casually in front of them. Madison slid her sunglasses down and looked up at me. Oh, Natalie, didn't you say you weren't coming this weekend? Answer the question. Did you seriously think it was okay to let strangers park on my property without my permission? At that point, Brianna, who had been silently fiddling with her phone, opened her mouth with visible annoyance. Hey, don't get so mad, okay? Did you see the Azure Mall right there? It's always completely full on weekends, and cars looking for parking are left wandering around with nowhere to go. We're just helping people who are in trouble. You could call it a social contribution. Social contribution? By using my private property without permission and charging $50 per car? Yes, because this land is way too big anyway. Haley then joined in. You know it's a waste for you to use this place all by yourself. This business has been booming for the past month. The wealthy people who come to the mall think $50 is pocket change. Thanks to that, we haven't had to worry about our living expenses this month. Their words made me feel dizzy. A month. In other words, they had taken advantage of the several weeks when I was buried in work and unable to come to the house, and had been repeating this criminal act the entire time. Make every single car leave immediately and take down the sign. This is trespassing and an unauthorized business. From this very moment on, do not let a single person step onto my property. When I said this coldly, Madison set her glass down on the table and slowly stood up. Honestly, Natalie, you're so stingy. What's wrong with your family making a little money? You earn more than enough as it is. You know your sisters are struggling, yet you keep this huge vacation home all to yourself. You should have a bit more of a sharing spirit. Oh, right. I can give you about 10% of today's profits as a management fee, if you want. At those words, I felt something inside me snap. Because we are family. Hiding behind that excuse, they had taken advantage of my goodwill over and over again. But this time was different. This went far beyond simple selfishness and crossed into clear betrayal and outright crime. I see. So that's your answer. I took my smartphone out of my bag. Natalie, what are you planning to do? Madison asked, her face clouded with suspicion. I looked straight into their eyes and spoke carefully, one word at a time. I'm just doing what's necessary to protect my rights. Without hesitation, I dialed 3 numbers. As I lifted the phone to my ear, Madison slammed her hand down on the table, her face turning pale. Hey, Natalie, you're not actually planning to call the police, are you? Don't be ridiculous. This is just a small misunderstanding within the family. A misunderstanding? Fine. Depending on how you answer my questions, I might reconsider. First, how did you get into the house? I was supposed to be the only one with access to the keys. I was thinking of the electronic lock on the front door and the physical spare key I had hidden as a backup. I had never given the passcode for the electronic lock to anyone. Then Brianna, her eyes darting around, muttered a reluctant confession. It was 6 months ago at that funeral. Grandma passed away, and we all gathered at the family home, remember? Your bag was sitting in the living room, so we just borrowed it for a moment and had a spare key made at a nearby shop. That was the day I lost my beloved grandmother and was consumed by deep grief. During that sacred time when I trusted my family without even a hint of doubt, they had gone through my bag, stolen my key, and made copies of it. The sheer despicableness of the act made me feel nauseous. Mom said it too, that you might need help in an emergency, so we thought it would be good to have it just in case something happened. Haley added, as if trying to justify herself. But isn't it a waste to just keep it without ever using it? About 6 months ago, when the three of us came shopping at the Azure Mall, the parking lot had a 3-hour wait. That's when Madison came up with a truly brilliant idea. Madison spoke with her chin lifted slightly, a hint of pride showing as if she were revealing a secret. That's right. The mall parking charges $20 per hour after the first 2 hours for each car. But your vacation home's yard is only a 5-minute walk from the mall. If we stand here with a sign, people are more than happy to pay. We started with just a few cars at first, but word spread too quickly. And now we're even using a dedicated reservation app. We recovered the cost of making the sign in just 3 days. The more I listened to them, the more I shuddered at the sheer level of planning involved and their complete lack of respect for me. They saw this place, which I had built with my own blood, sweat, and devotion, as nothing more than a free business base. The lawn had been trampled by heavy tires, and oil stains marred the beautiful stone pavement. They could never imagine how many meetings I had held with professional landscapers just to preserve the scenery of this garden. That's enough. This is pointless. Suppressing the tremor in my voice, I spoke to the operator on the other end of the phone. This is an emergency. Multiple individuals are trespassing on my property and conducting unauthorized commercial activity. Yes, I am the owner. The trespassers are my relatives, but I have given no permission whatsoever and am demanding their immediate removal. Yes, more than 30 vehicles are illegally parked on the premises. Hey, stop it! Madison tried to grab my arm, but I sharply shook her off. Don't touch me. Have you ever once thought about what it means to me to protect this house? Do you have any idea how I worked 60 hours a week, caught between my bosses and my clients, and how much responsibility I carried to obtain this place? You trampled all of that for your own spending money. This isn't just about money. This is a violation of my dignity and my safety. For a brief moment, my sisters seemed intimidated by the cold, unyielding expression they had never seen on my face before. But Madison quickly raised her voice again, now shrill and hysterical. Dignity? You're so uptight, Natalie. You have plenty of money, so why can't you just let this slide? Is it really such a grave sin for us to use unused land to earn a little extra income? Do you have any idea what Mom and Dad will say if you call the police? What Mom and Dad think has nothing to do with me right now. I will protect my property in accordance with the law, that's all. And now, show me that tablet. All records of illegally obtained profits will be submitted as evidence. Don't be ridiculous. Brianna hid the tablet behind her back. This is the result of our hard work. If you want it back, then sue us. Yes, that's exactly what I intend to do. At that moment, the sound of sirens could be heard in the distance. Carried by the sea breeze, the sound grew steadily louder, as if pushing my resolve forward. One patrol car, then another, turned into my private driveway. Red and blue lights cast an eerie glow over the ugly pink sign my sisters had set up. The 2 police officers who stepped out of the cars looked back and forth between the long line of vehicles, my sisters standing there in shock, and me standing firm, trying to grasp the situation. Are you the one who made the call? One of the officers asked me. I took a deep breath, regained my composure, and answered clearly. Yes, my name is Natalie, and I am the sole owner of this property. The 3 women here entered without my permission and are operating an illegal parking business on my land. Please remove them immediately and take the appropriate legal action. Could you explain exactly what is going on here? Just as I was about to speak, Madison cut in and shouted, "Officer, please calm down. This is just a family squabble. I'm the homeowner's sister, and we were only preparing for a small party. My sister tends to exaggerate and panic over nothing. I mean, we're family. There's no way this could be trespassing, right?" Madison tried to talk her way out using one of the charming lies she had relied on countless times throughout her life. She knew very well that police officers are often reluctant to intervene in family disputes. Brianna and Haley hurriedly chimed in as well. "That's right. Our sister said she was coming this weekend, so we just invited a bunch of friends as a surprise. All these cars belong to our friends. That sign? It's just a joke. We didn't take a single dollar from anyone." I cut through their performance with a cold stare. "May I have a moment?" I had already anticipated exactly what they would say. When I pulled a folder out of my bag, my sister's faces visibly stiffened. Inside that folder were not only copies of the property deed, but also detailed records covering the past month. First, ownership of this house belongs to me 100%. They do not reside here and have no right to enter without my permission. And this is the evidence of what they are calling a joke. On my smartphone, I showed screenshots of the reservation website they had been using for advertising, along with a video I had taken of the entrance sign clearly stating $50 per day. Then I pointed toward the table where they had been sitting moments earlier. On that table, there is a card reader for payments and a tablet that appears to be managing their sales. They are systematically and unlawfully using my private property for commercial purposes. In a residential area like Pacific Palisades, you are well aware how serious an offense unlicensed commercial activity and unauthorized use of private land can be. One of the officers walked over to the table and picked up the tablet. Madison screamed, "Don't touch that." But he ignored her and checked the screen. "Madison, did you really think I hadn't noticed?" At my words, Madison gasped. What are you talking about?" 6 months ago, on the day of Grandma's funeral, when you secretly took my key and then put it back. I'm extremely meticulous about my belongings. I noticed the fine metal shavings clinging to the key. Brianna and Haley exchanged glances and began to tremble. But I didn't say anything at the time. I decided to wait and see how you were going to use that key. And about a month ago, I deliberately wrote in the family group chat, didn't I, that a major project had come in, that I probably wouldn't be able to come to the house for a month, and that the security system would be temporarily shut down for maintenance. "So, are you saying that was a trap?" Madison screamed. "Yes, you acted exactly as I expected. For the past month, I've been remotely checking all the footage from the hidden cameras I installed in the garden. When you ordered the sign, when you started collecting parking fees, who handled reception, and how much profit you made each day. All of it is saved right here on this smartphone and in the cloud." I held up the screen of my smartphone. On it were clear, date-stamped videos lined up, showing my sisters cheerfully taking cash from customers and prompting them to pay through an app. I could see the color drain from their faces all at once. The confidence of believing, our sister will forgive us in the end, finally collapsing. Officers, this was intentional. They built this business systematically, fully convinced that I would not come here. Everything is documented. Where they placed the sign, how they attracted customers through social media, and the complete record up until my arrival today. This is not a momentary trespass, but a continuous, profit-driven criminal act carried out over an entire month. One of the officers looked visibly surprised and fixed his gaze sharply on my sisters again. "I see. So this was premeditated. Are you still going to insist this was just a family party?" Madison's face turned ashen, a mix of anger, humiliation, and fear. "Natalie, please stop this. What do you think you're doing, showing all this to the police? Are you really saying you're okay with your sisters going to jail?" I glanced at her briefly, then spoke calmly to the officers. "This involves trespassing, theft of a key, and organized, unauthorized commercial activity. As the owner, I am formally pressing charges against them. I will make no compromises." The moment those words left my mouth, the air at the scene froze. "Wait, Natalie, you're serious?" Madison began to cry and scream. "It's just a parking lot. No one got hurt and we didn't destroy the house. Why would someone with money like you turn your poor sisters over to the police instead of helping them?" "You're a devil, a cold-hearted person." No one got hurt? Don't make me laugh. I stepped forward and confronted her. What if a fire had broken out because of these illegally parked cars? What if a mall customer had been injured on my property? I would have been fully responsible. My career, this house, everything could have been lost because of your shallow little business. You turned my life into a gambling chip. Don't sully that with words like helping each other. After reviewing the evidence I presented and hearing my sister's near-confessional protest, the officers seemed to conclude that this was no longer a simple civil matter. We understand the situation. On suspicion of organized trespassing, unauthorized commercial activity, and theft, you will all be required to come with us to the station. The moment the officer pulled a pair of handcuffs from his belt, Brianna and Haley collapsed onto the ground and began to cry, while Madison started thrashing around wildly as if she had lost her mind. Let go of me. Don't touch me. Natalie, cancel this right now. I'm telling Dad about this. I'll ruin your life. Neighbors who heard the commotion came outside to see what was happening. In the once quiet seaside residential area, my sister's filthy screams and the crackle of police radio transmissions echoed loudly. I simply stared coldly at the three of them as they were handcuffed and shoved into the back seats of the patrol cars. Miss Natalie, we'll need a detailed statement from you later at the station. We will also be confiscating the tablet and the sign as evidence from the scene. I nodded deeply. After the patrol cars drove away, all that remained in the now silent private driveway were 30 parked cars and a trampled lawn. But my battle was only just beginning. I contacted the towing company I had arranged in advance. Yes, the police investigation at the scene is finished. There are 33 illegally parked vehicles. Please tow all of them. There were a few confrontations with returning customers, but I wordlessly shoved copies of the legal notice regarding trespassing that I had prepared beforehand into their hands and rejected every complaint. Then my smartphone began to vibrate violently. The name displayed on the screen was Mom. I took a deep breath and pressed the call button. Natalie, what on earth are you thinking? My mother's shrill voice pierced my eardrums through the phone. I just got a call from Madison. She said she's at the police station in handcuffs. Is it true that you turned your own sisters over to the police? This has to be a joke, right? Tell me it's a lie. Unfortunately, it's all true, Mom. They trespassed on my vacation home without my permission and ran an illegal parking business for an entire month, so I reported it in accordance with the law. Illegal parking business? They were just struggling and needed a little help to get by. As a successful sister like you, couldn't you have just been a bit more generous and watched over them? How can you treat your own family like criminals? Don't you have a heart? My mother's words were exactly what I had expected. It was the same logic she had always used, constantly indulging my sisters and pushing the responsibility of cleaning up after them onto me, the successful daughter. Mom, listen carefully. Do you know how they got into the house? I asked calmly, but with a voice as sharp as a blade. They stole my key from my bag on the day of Grandma's funeral and made copies of it. While I was grieving the loss of Grandma, they were already planning how to plunder my home. And you still think I should be generous? I could tell that my mother was momentarily left speechless on the other end of the line. But then my father, who must have been listening nearby, snatched the phone and unleashed an even harsher shout. Natalie, it's just a key for God's sake. And your vacation house is always empty anyway. What's wrong with making good use of it? Your arrogant attitude is what's tearing this family apart. Go to the police right now and withdraw the complaint. If you don't, we're cutting ties with you. The moment I heard those words from my father, I felt the final line inside me collapse with an audible crash. You just said you'd cut ties with me as family, didn't you, Dad? I said quietly, but with unwavering resolve. Fine. Today, I called the police to stop my sister's crimes, but at the same time, I made the decision to sever myself from your disease of dependency. From now on, there is no place for you in my life. What are you saying? Natalie, are you serious? I am serious, and let me make this clear as well. I will be replacing all the locks on the house and installing the latest security system. From now on, if anyone steps onto my property without permission, even one of you, I will immediately report it as trespassing and take legal action. I ended the call before my father could shout anything back. Then I immediately blocked the number. At the edge of my vision, I saw the last tow truck pulling out of my driveway. Even though I had lost my family, my heart felt strangely light and clear. I had protected my home, and I had protected my dignity, my life itself. The next morning, while drinking my coffee, I waited for a call from my legal counsel, Ethan, whom I had contacted the night before. At exactly 8 o'clock a.m., my smartphone rang. "Good morning, Natalie. This is Ethan." His voice was calm and businesslike, as always. That steady tone pulled me back from the storm of emotions of the previous night into cold, clear reality. "Ethan, what's the situation?" "Your sisters are currently being held in custody. Overnight, the video evidence you submitted, the number of vehicles that were towed, and the data from the confiscated tablet were reviewed. Trespassing and theft, along with violations of state law due to unauthorized commercial activity. All of this is more than sufficient to be formally pursued as a criminal case." "Are they saying anything?" "Madison is making the most noise. At first, she insisted it was just family fun. But when the video evidence was presented, she started lashing out, accusing you of using dirty, sting-like tactics." The police couldn't care to hear what she said. Brianna and Haley were just crying nonstop. "And one more thing. Your parents have been sitting in the station lobby since last night. They're demanding to be put through to you and are causing trouble for the staff." Just after I hung up with Ethan, my phone rang again. An unknown number. It was probably my mother borrowing someone else's phone. I answered once and only once to bring this to an end. "Natalie, please." The furious shouting from yesterday was gone, replaced by a damp, trembling voice of pleading. I was wrong. Yesterday I panicked. "Please, Natalie, the girls are at their limit. Madison hasn't slept at all and is shaking nonstop, and Haley keeps throwing up. At this rate, their minds are going to break." "I'll do anything. I'll do exactly what you say. So please get them out of there. Please. I'm begging you." My mother was sobbing uncontrollably on the other end of the line. I had never imagined that my proud mother would ever humble herself this completely before her own daughter. But I knew. These tears were not remorse for the crimes my sisters had committed, but fear of the collapse of the family they had clung to. "All right, Mom, I'll give you one chance. But this is not to go back to being the same family as before. This is my final mercy so that I can sever all ties completely." I contacted Ethan and presented a single condition. An hour later, I went to the police station with my lawyer. There, my parents were waiting, looking as though they had aged 10 years overnight, along with my sisters, who had just had their handcuffs removed and stared ahead with hollow, soulless expressions. Without meeting their eyes, I placed several documents prepared by Ethan on the table. "There is only one condition. Sign these papers." The documents listed several clauses with full legal force. They would be permanently prohibited from entering any property I owned. They would be forbidden from contacting me by any means whatsoever. If they violated any of these terms, the current charges would be reinstated, and they would consent to immediate criminal prosecution. They would also agree to pay full compensation for the damages, including lawn restoration costs, towing fees, and all legal expenses. If I sign this, you'll really forgive us, right? Madison looked up at me while gripping the pen with trembling fingers. The arrogant gleam that once filled her eyes was gone, replaced by nothing but bottomless fear. One night in detention must have been a hellish experience for people as sheltered as they were. "I'm not forgiving you. I'm agreeing to have nothing to do with you. I will erase your existence from my life. If you accept that, I'll let you walk out of here today." The sisters didn't even have the composure to look at each other and sign the documents as if possessed. My parents watched in silence. They too seemed to realize that they had lost forever their golden goose and their reliable daughter. After the documents were accepted and the charges were formally withdrawn, they were released later that same day. However, what they were left with was not freedom. In the police database, arrest records for trespassing and theft were firmly etched next to their names. And those records would cling to them like dark shadows every time they tried to find new work or build any form of social credibility in the future. They would come to understand again and again throughout their lives just how heavy a shackle their shallow actions had become. As we left the police station, Madison turned back to look at me just once. She seemed about to say something, but my cold, unyielding gaze pinned her in place, and she hurriedly climbed into my parents' car as if fleeing. I watched the car drive away with an expressionless face. Several months passed after that. From my life, the noise called family disappeared completely. When I arrive at my Pacific Palisades vacation home on weekends, perfect silence greets me. Occasionally, I hear from distant relatives about what kind of hell my former family is now enduring. It is far more miserable than I ever imagined. First and foremost, what awaited my three sisters was the inescapable chain known as an arrest record. I hear that they now drift from one low-wage, hourly job to another, the very kind of work they once looked down on, all the while living in constant fear of the shadow cast by their criminal history. All of their brand-name bags and jewelry have been sold off, and now they huddle together in a cramped room at my parents' house, spending their days hurling blame and insults at one another. And my parents, who had continued to indulge them, are now paying the price as well. On top of that, the compensation I demanded was by no means a small amount. In an attempt to lessen their daughter's criminal records, even slightly, my parents reportedly drained their retirement savings to cover the payments. No matter how financially destitute or mentally cornered they may be now, not a single ripple stirs in my heart. Because this is the path they chose of their own free will. I take deep pride in the decision I made. I cut away relationships that were poisoning me, and I protected my assets, my dignity, and my future.